Alrighty, g'day fellas. So a little while back I was having myself a gander about the YouTube space and stumbled across a video by Markiplier, simply titled INPUT6. Now, I knew absolutely nothing about this game. I didn't even click on the video, but that thumbnail, it spoke to me. A horror game about an animatronic MILF. What more could you ask for? Awooga! And it was at that moment that I realized that this game was for me. INPUT6 is a little indie title made by this bloke, Goostronaut Games, and the best way I could describe it is as an analog horror video game. It takes all the best elements of the analog horror genre and seamlessly implements them into a game format. Now, obviously, it wasn't the unique premise or creepy aesthetics that drew me in and convinced me to buy the game. It was the big titty robot Maid. But to find a horror game that feels like a ton of passion has been put into it is always refreshing. I'm looking at you freaks. In any case, INPUT6 is a very simple yet charming game that does a great job at keeping the player on edge at all times, and even the gameplay mechanics are tied to the lore. So, I'ma just go over everything that Mummy Maid has to offer. Why are you hitting yourself? Stop hitting yourself. Stop hitting yourself. Why are you hitting yourself? Stop hitting yourself. I guess INPUT6 would be considered a Slender-like game, as your objective is to traverse this unsettling factory environment as you search for 5 remotes that control these sexy robot maids. What sets this game apart, however, is the input system. You see, we perceive the world of INPUT6 through the lenses of old yet movable security cameras, each camera designated to a different input from 1 to 6. So our mission to collect all 5 remote controls is not a linear path. The game takes place simultaneously in separate segments of the company's facility. 1 remote for each input/facility segment. But I'm sure you noticed that the number of inputs and remotes doesn't quite match up. And that's because input number 6 is stationary and dedicated to watching over a Mayday. Great name, by the way. It's got Maid and AI and Mayday and Aid and just solid. Fucking solid. Essentially, the gameplay loop consists of searching a facility segment until a Mayday either shows up or you hear the fucking terrifying sounds of footsteps sprinting towards you. Before it envelops you in its sweet, loving embrace, switch to the next input and repeat. Oh yeah, and you only have 15 minutes to complete your objective. Now, 15 minutes to find 5 items doesn't sound very hard, but trust me, it ain't easy. That's because of both the confusing environments and aesthetic of the game. I mentioned earlier that we view this game through old, shitty security cameras. So, you gotta look over everything with a fine-tooth comb, because if you accidentally pass it and fail to realize, that ain't good. And then the map itself is like a fucking maze. There are so many doorways and you go into one room and out another, and somehow you end up back in the room you just came from, and sometimes you head back the way you came, but then I feel like it's a totally different room, but I'm not completely sure, and I feel like I might be going crazy. So, there are 2 plausible options. Either I'm just very stupid, or the map likes to change behind you. Both very possible possibilities. Furthermore, as you navigate the facility segments in search of these remotes, the security cameras we play through tend to malfunction from time to time. These malfunctions manifesting themselves as little mini-games. There are 4 of these distinct configuration mini-games, and failing a task will result in a different temporary consequence that just fucks with how well you can traverse the game. If you fuck up the system clock error, your time drains faster for a little while. Mess up the video signal error, and the cameras go monochrome, making it really annoying to distinguish shit when you're looking for a small remote control. Failing the videotape tracking error will disable your fast forward, essentially your sprint button. And I honestly have no fucking clue what happens if you fail the sound signal interference, because it's so easy I never screwed it up. Actually, they're all pretty easy to do. Except for this one. This one fucking sucks, and I fucked it up every time, and it got to a point where I just accepted my fate and sacrificed my fast forward so I didn't have to attempt this stupid fucking minigame. So yeah, you gotta juggle all that crap, and once you find a remote, the designated input is disabled. After inputs 1 to 5 are all off, we finally get access to input 6. I don't think you can fuck up this last part of the game. You just kinda gotta walk forward and grab this other remote, which triggers the ending cutscene. Beep boop. Oh, there it is. Oh. Oh, baby. The thing's going. The conveyor belt is moving. Hello, mommy. Woo! Do I gotta move or something? What's the... What? What the fuck just happened? What? Oh. Why did it explode? I mean, I saw the explosives all over. That was it. Mummy. No! Okay, the explosion animation was pretty fucking horrible, but I just found it funny. Then we walk forward a bit more and boom! He really likes his explosions. I'd say that these ending cutscenes are the one area that the analog horror shitty camera aesthetic holds the game back a bit, because you can't fully appreciate the animation and model of the broken Mayday. I would have loved to have seen the model more clearly here, because I just really like it. And that's just about it for the classic mode of the game, but the other modes aren't really all that worth doing. There's an easy mode where everything is slower and, well, easier. Plus, beating minigames shows an arrow pointing in the remote's direction. So, yeah, play this one if you're a pussy. There's a no minigames mode, which is exactly what it sounds like. An exploration mode with no threats and limitless fast forward. And then, there's challenge mode. 5 minutes on the clock, everything moves faster, failing minigames drains time. Though, finding a remote adds 5 seconds to the board. Fuck that, not happening. Though, if you do manage to defeat it, there is a reward. After completing the challenge mode, a new file will appear within the game's local files. It's a 3D model of what appears to be a Mayday statue or toy. Pretty neat. Love me some secrets. And speaking of secrets, it's them that push this game above and beyond, and really showcases the passion that went into making this game. While exploring the map in search of remotes, you can also come across various archives which flesh out the lore of the world. For the most part, they're all newspapers or photos or stuff like that, which discuss the company, Tech-8 Robotics, and its collapse. There is one item that stands out, however, the disc, which can't be accessed without a password. So, looking through the other archives, we can figure out the password after a bit of trial and error. And voila! It opens an in-game external drive. Now this is real analog horror shit. Within the external drive are Word documents, models of a toy Mayday the company was pitching, the same model as the challenge mode reward, and audio files, all of which are used for world building and lore purposes. And then there's also the database, which unlocks after you collect all the archives and shit. The database consists of 3 character files concerning the key players in our story, 2 of which are automatically accessible, and 1 which requires a password, though it's pretty easy to figure out if you've been reading/listening to all the files. A lot of care went into building up the lore of this game, and it really shows. Sifting through all the secrets and stuff, we uncover the mystery surrounding and details relating to the eventual collapse of Tech-8 Robotics. As mentioned earlier, this story revolves around 3 main characters and their associated businesses. At the top of the food chain, we have Bradley Luca, the owner of Luca Innovations. This guy, absolute bloody cunt. After getting paid out from his parents' death, Bradley became an investor, buying out small businesses and profiting off their success. Though he was notorious for brutally worsening the work conditions of the places he bought and, without warning, shutting down the small businesses that don't meet his expectations. Through this field of work, Bradley became very close to another investor, Christopher Graft. In fact, they got along so well that Christopher was given the position of Director of Agrest Industries, a subsidiary company for Awooga Innovations. Agrest Industries focused on the development of security systems and military equipment. And then the last of our main three is William J. Price, formerly William Graft. You see, Willie and Christopher are brothers who once co-owned TechAid Robotics, a company that focused on developing medical technologies. The two had differing visions of how the company ought to be and go, however, causing enough strife to collapse the business. Chris went on to invest in small businesses, whilst William began working tirelessly towards a top-secret project. Clearly, Mayday was the secret project, and it was being funded by none other than Awooga Innovations. And so, the brothers reunite on friendly terms, and Willie was appointed the director of the newly revived TechAid Robotics, another subsidiary of Awooga Innovations. Together, the brothers released Mayday to the public. With the combined efforts and skills of Agrest Industries, a security company, and TechAid Robotics, a medical technology company, it was clear that these sexy robot maids were much more than just that. Virtually everything had been accounted for. William described Mayday as a personal robotic assistant that could cook, clean, hold a conversation, and probably a lot more personal stuff as well. She was controlled by AI and was implanted with a camera that records everything it sees and relays it back to the company server. Obviously, that last part didn't go over too well with the press, but they said some corporate bullshit to cover their asses. Some shit about everything being for research purposes and the like. There's quite a bit to go into concerning the functionality of the Mayday, so I'm not gonna bother with all that crap. If you really want to know, buy the game, find the secrets, and check the schematics. Mayday also have a couple modes. For the most part, they all make sense. There's a booting up mode, waiting for the command mode, executing the command mode, busy mode, sleep mode, and alert mode. Alert mode is the odd one out here because it isn't something the owner can control. Alert mode is a mode only administrable by TechAid themselves. It overrides the owner's ability to command the robot. This one was a safety thing, to stop Mayday in case of being given a dangerous command. It's also relevant to mention that the owner is also requested to register themselves in the Mayday's memory before the initial boot up, suggesting that they may become hostile if they don't recognize you. So keep all this information in mind when considering the incident of 1994. You see, the incident of 1994 is like INPUT6's
The Bite of 87.
Although, unlike FNAF, we actually get to see this incident take place. To be precise, we get to watch the last 15 minutes before the incident. That's right, the gameplay of INPUT6 doesn't have us controlling anything, nothing like that. We are simply an investigator reviewing the last 15 minutes of footage pulled from the Mayday servers. So we ourselves are playing as sexy robot maids while getting hunted down by other sexy robot maids. And the configuration minigames are the Mayday wigging the fuck out. Inputs 1 to 5 clearly show that the Mayday had been alert mode commanded to become hostile. And when we finally flick over to input 6, we see that a Mayday, positioned on a higher level of the facility, was commanded to activate a machine that would blow up the entire factory. Cue green screen explosion. So that's the what of it. How about the why? Why did all of this happen? Who sent out those alert commands? Well, obviously, it had to have been one of or some of our cast of three. William J. Price, Christopher Graft, or Bradley Luca. But who would have the motive to fucking self-destruct their own facility. From compiling the evidence, it seems that Bradley was planning to take over the Mayday project and remove the brothers' graft from the company because of the bad press concerning the robots. The brothers set a widespread alert command which causes the Mayday to go wild, intending to metaphorically bomb the company so that its reputation would be shot and Luca wouldn't be able to spin a profit on it. Though, to make sure there wasn't any evidence that may get Luca arrested or, worse, cancelled, he literally bombed the factory. Either way, didn't work out for any of them in the end. Some evidence was salvaged from the wreck, likely the Mayday camera footage and the archives. And with that, the 3 formerly business partners were sent to prison, and all was well. I love this story. Do you know why? It's simple. It's straightforward. It's just a story about corporate greed and trusting the wrong people. No dead kids. No convoluted grand master plan. No putting things back together again. INPUT6 is an absolutely phenomenal game, and the developer, Awooga Games, should be incredibly proud of what they made, especially seeing that it is their first. I had a fucking great time playing through this. The gameplay is compelling, and discovering the mysteries of Tech 8 robotics was fun in of itself. At the end of the day, I can't recommend this game more. The only big criticism I have is that there's no option to date the sexy robot maids. That's about it. Bye.